Okay, it's going now. All right. Well, yeah, I'll just get started. So, welcome to the Everyday Tarot Podcast, your daily dive into the divine wisdom of the tarot. I'm your host, Camille A. Saunders, healer, tarot enthusiast, and professional witch. And today I'm joined by my guest, Kayla Moore. Kayla, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, I'm Kayla. I am actually trying on some new titles. So, my current title that I am wanting to be known as is Sacred Disruptor and Sovereign Guide. This is a little bit inspiration or trying to gain inspiration from wanting to move a little bit more towards priestess energy. I am historically a therapist, specifically a sex therapist. I'm moving more into the realm of coaching. Um, and I think I'm also moving into more of a place where I want to be a spiritual guide as well as just like a sexual healer. Um, and so kind of my tagline that I'm working with right now is liberation wisdom for sexual healing and feminine rising. And I think I really have a passion right now for helping all people, but especially women, rise in this moment, connect back to their bodies, reclaim their pleasure, and remember their power. And um, I currently have some coaching offers. I have one-on-one coaching offers. I have a course called Not Broken that is specifically for women that are experiencing low sexual desire and want to reclaim their relationship to sex and intimacy on their own terms. And my one-on-one container is specifically for that as well. And I don't know if you wanted me to dive into all my offers right now, but
Yeah, that's good.
um I have a retreat coming up that I'm doing with a colleague of mine, Shauna Stewart, that will be on Vashon Island the weekend of November, I believe it's 14th through the 16th. And it is called Shed, and it's all about shedding the barriers and the scripts that we have as women to claiming our pleasure as our own. So it's specifically a women's retreat, and we are almost full, but we still have a few spots left. So if that's something that piques your interest, that would be really fun to see anybody in this space at. Um, and then actually, where Camille and I met in person was at a sacred feminine singing circle that I do with another friend of mine, Emma. Um, and that's really a space that I'm wanting to root a little bit more in the spiritual aspect of what I do, as a place where we can come together and kind of collectively resonate at the same frequency. And I would love to actually create that space to be a little bit more intentional around probably some of the stuff that Camille and I talked about on my podcast and we'll talk about today, of really holding the frequency and the vision for what we want the future to look like. Um, but really rooting it in song, in harmony. And it's sacred feminine song. It's very easygoing. There's no need to have any singing background or like feel like you know what you're doing. If you feel called to that, just showing up is great. And we will totally guide you through the whole thing. It's really more about coming together in community with other like-minded women and or femmes, however you identify. And it's just about rooting in love and community and sending that prayer out into the universe through our voices. So that's kind of who I am. I'm a little bit in flux, but those are the things that I have going. I also have my own podcast, which is called Connected Pleasure Podcast. That Camille was just a guest on for me, and that is all about weaving a world of pleasure. How we can again hold the frequency of pleasure and love and kind of have a blueprint for what it looks like to have the world that we actually want to have moving forward instead of focusing on all of the things that are crumbling around us, which is so hard, not to just like delve into and feel like we're drowning in all the time. That I want this podcast to be a little bit of a reprieve from that and show that there are actually so many people already really holding the frequency of love and community and gratitude and um, what we want this future to look like. So, yeah, that's who I am and
Yeah.
what I do.
Yeah, well, thank you. Yeah, and if you want to connect further, Kayla, I'll have your Instagram, website, the retreat link, the podcasts, the coaching stuff. That'll all be linked in the show notes. And if folks hear the episode and they want to be a guest on the show, I do have my guest inquiry linked as well. And I know today we're going to be talking about Oracle and Tarot differences, similarities. So if you haven't listened to my other seasons yet, you can check those out. In season 1, episode 4, I talked kind of basic differences of Oracle and Tarot cards. And then I recently kind of did a deep dive episode into my more recent explorations with Oracle and getting more decks, and that's episode 183. And I pull a card from all of my Oracle decks together in that episode. So if you like what you hear today, and we're talking about Oracle and Tarot, like check those episodes out as well. So to get started, Kayla, like what made you pick up your original deck? Did you choose Oracle? Did it choose you? How did that all happen?
So I actually joined a sacred feminine community called Holy Woman, which is now being transitioned into a temple. Um, but it was through this community that one of the main pillars of the community was starting a sacred start. So, like a morning ritual that you do every morning to connect with yourself, to connect to the divine, and essentially just like have some space for you before you jump into your day. And one of the main suggestions was doing Oracle or Tarot. Um, and so I just decided to do Oracle. I don't really know why. Maybe Tarot felt a little bit intimidating. Um, because I knew that it had more like you had said in my podcast, like structure to it.
Yeah.
Um, so and I just really liked the box on this um on my first Oracle deck that I bought. So I think that's how
Yeah.
I decided between Oracle and Tarot. That maybe Oracle felt a little less intimidating, and the artwork was really beautiful from the deck that was recommended to me. Um, but since then, since I've done Oracle, I've definitely been curious around tarot, and I have done tarot. Like I've had a tarot reading. I've had other friends that had tarot decks that we just kind of like played around with. So I've dabbled in it, but I haven't been like a um, a person that does tarot on a regular basis.
Yeah. When I was doing my booth at Pride, I would ask people, "Are you tarot curious?" And they'd be like, "Yes." So,
Yes.
folks that, like you're saying, right, like have heard of it, you've had readings, but maybe don't feel like you know it super well or like
Yeah.
have your own deck or anything. So that felt like a accessible label for people to kind
Hmm.
of come in with. So it sounds like you refer kind of recommended the deck because I'm also always curious about like, do you buy it online? Do you go in
Hmm.
person? Like, decks can be kind of inaccessible in
Mm-hmm.
person because you often can't like see the cards in it really. They're
Mm-hmm.
usually like plastic wrapped. So
Mm-hmm.
um, I know for me sometimes I prefer to kind of like have it in person or be able to see, hold it,
Mm-hmm.
touch it with the energy, but
Yeah.
sometimes it's also kind of a gamble
Yeah.
if you know what you're gonna get.
Yeah. Well, the first deck that I got that is by Rebecca Campbell. I mean, she's very well known in
Yeah,
the sacred feminine arena. Um, so I think that was just like one of the top ones that was recommended, and I
yeah.
did buy that online on Amazon. I'm sorry to say I don't love that I did that now, but that's
Fortunately,
what it
Amazon is
was.
also very accessible.
Yeah. Yeah, but then my birthday this year, there's a mystical shop that is in University Place, um, Tacoma area that I had never been in before. So on my birthday, I like took a day off and I went to um Ruston in Tacoma because that's one of my favorite parks. And then after that, I went to that shop and bought way more things than I intended to buy. I
Is
really
this
just
Crescent Moon Gifts, that place? Is that the
no,
place
it's
or
like
no? Okay.
mystical sanctuary,
Okay.
something like that.
Okay. Okay.
Um, but yeah, I intended to just go get another deck because I wanted a tarot deck, and then they had way more oracle decks than they did tarot decks. So I ended up getting another oracle deck because again, the like box spoke to me.
Yeah.
Um, so I ended up getting another oracle deck, but I loved the on the front of this one, it's a Elena Fairchild one, and it has like the maiden mother crone. And I
Mm,
felt like that was something that I was exploring at the time when I was picking it out. And so it did speak to me. The box at least spoke to me.
yeah. Yeah. So yeah, you talked about like starting out, it sounds like doing like a card a day or kind of like
Mhm.
pulling. How do you use your decks now? Is that still kind of what you do? Do you do any
Mhm.
spreads or anything?
Yeah, so I do like the Rebecca Campbell one because it was a little bit more explicit in the book of
Okay.
like, here are different spreads.
Yeah.
Here's how you can like charge your cards. There was like two different
Mm,
invocations. One is a really long one, and then one is just like a really short one that you could do but before each time that you're gonna pull cards. So I like ritualistically did that every single time, um, which was nice. It was nice to get a sense for that. And they talk about like how to pick with your hand because I feel like, for a lot of us perfectionists, sometimes it's hard to be like, I don't know how to choose. I don't know what that looks like. And so I'm pretty sure that this was where I learned that like the left hand is part of the left side of the body, which is the feminine side. So I like to kind of do like my little ritual, my little like intention. They said to even like hold the cards to your heart and to like hold an intention and then like say the invocation before you shuffle. And it was like, I don't know, like shuffle 3 times and then you like cut the deck and then 3 times and then put them together and then spread it out. So it was very like explicit of how
yeah.
to do it. And then wave your left hand over, or, it's kind of, I think it's different for everyone of like how you intuitively know what card to pick, but I very much feel energy. So I wave my left hand over and kind of feel for what one kind of makes my hand feel tingly and like some electricity is happening. Um, and I work on like not second guessing myself because sometimes there's like tons of cards that I feel that with. So then I have to like figure out which one I actually want to pick. But I try to just go with like the first one that makes me feel something. Um, so that's how I did it with my first deck. And I still really kind of do that with my second deck, but the second deck didn't really have any explanation for how to do anything. So I kind of created my own thing where I like to think it because it's made in Mother Crone and I have been, I also dabble a lot in astrology and listen to a lot of astrologers. And something that's been coming up a lot is like the coming together of both the sacred feminine and the sacred masculine. Um, So I do a thing where I don't necessarily set so much of an intention anymore. Because one of the spreads in the first deck was just a daily like soul spread where it's just two cards, and they said it's great for just a daily connection to your soul to kind of, connect to whatever your soul wants to tell you. I think the first card is supposed to be like your soul's message to you, and then the second card is more like your soul's like action that it wants you to take, something like that. So that's usually what I do with my second deck, but with my second deck I have a specific song that I play too. Both decks. My first deck I had one specific song that I always played, and now my second deck I have a different song that I always play that makes me feel like I'm in the frequency of that deck. um Sometimes I hold it to my heart, sometimes I don't, but I do like a shuffle on my left knee, and I really try to like think of like my feminine energy when I do that. Then I do a shuffle on my right knee, and I try to think of more of like my masculine energy in that. And then I do a shuffle in the center of me and kind of think of them like coming together.
Mm.
And then I split them in three piles and think maiden, mother, crone, and then put them together and then do my spread. And then wave my left hand over and usually pull like two cards out as kind of my daily thing that I do. I don't do it every day, but when I do, that is my ritual of how I do it.
Yeah, yeah, I like that. And it sounds like, yeah, that you appreciate the ritualized aspect of it, that
Hmm.
is helpful for you. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
curious, what is your relationship like with your intuition? Like, how does that play into practicing with cards or using decks?
I think I've always had a really deep connection to my intuition. I've always led more with my emotional side, but I will say that especially the second Elena Fairchild deck, there's been a card that I've gotten multiple times about like leading from your heart. And I do think that that's something that I've been learning a lot more as I have gone through my journey in the sacred feminine, as getting out of my head and more into my heart. But I do think in general, I tend to have a good sense of my own intuition. Again, sometimes I like second guess that intuition with my head. And I've tried to make some rules with myself of like, if I, especially these cards are kind of stiff and hard to maneuver sometimes, but I'm like, if I spread them out and they're not spread out very well, I try not to make them look pretty just because it's
Mhm.
supposed to be that way or because I want to see all the cards. I try to be like, well, if they're like that for a reason. Um, so I try to get out of my head as much as I can. But yeah, I do think I've always had a strong connection to my intuition, even though my head sometimes can drag me out of it a little bit. Um, but it felt very natural to me to be like, yeah, I can wave my hand over something and feel some tingly sensation and know that that's my card. And I also try to close my eyes. Oftentimes I end up opening my eyes to try and pick which card I actually want, because sometimes I'll be like, well, I feel it here, but I also kind of feel it here. And so I have to like figure out exactly which card I'm feeling it with. That I can't always do when I'm closing my eyes. But I try again to like not let my brain make the decision, make my just like intuition in my body make the decision. Um, and it usually works. So
Okay. Yeah, so you named astrology earlier. Are there other like witchy or magical practices that you practice or utilize or are learning more about?
yeah, I think astrology is my favorite one. Um, but like I'm trying to do a little bit more ritual in like before podcasting.
Mm.
It tends not to happen before clients, but I would love if I could get to a point of doing it more before clients too. Like I don't know why, but I have been so um afraid of like burning sage. I have like 4 or 5 different sage bundles that I've bought, and for some reason, I've just always been like, I just don't know how. I don't know how to do it. And it's literally like you just light it and that's it. And so I finally was like, no, I'm going to do it. And um, I forget who, I feel like I have so many things that I tune into or people that talk to me. Maybe it was a book that I was reading. I talked about how like if you're gonna use sage, you should like open the window and like move all the negative energy out the window. So I've done that a couple times now. I did it before our podcast of like saging my office and like moving the negative energy out the window to kind of like set the tone of my space. Um, I really like using incense too. That I always remember incense being something that was like I don't know necessarily taboo, but I feel like it was more akin to like people that like smoke pot or something or like
Mm.
hippies in my
Yeah.
mind. But I got some really again through recommendations from like the Sacred Start guide on like uh what incense to buy and I really love like playing around with scents and doing incense. Um, I tend to also do like a candle and incense at the same time, and my candles are usually like smelly candles too, so might like overpower myself with some scents, but um I think sandalwood is my favorite for incense. And then I have a local shop in Gig Harbor that I buy like soap and candles from. And I really like a lot of their flavors of candles that I kind of go in between. Um, so I think that's usually it. Again, I really like music. I'm a singer. I have my Sacred Feminine singing circle, so that usually gets me more into the frequency too, that I've gotten into a lot of the more like Sacred Feminine music and musicians that just people again in this area tend to listen to. Um, So I like playing those. And like if I don't have time in the morning to do an actual sacred start, then usually I try to listen to some music while I'm in the shower or something just to kind of have something that gets me into that space. Um, and then also just being like part of communities and talking with different people that are in more of the sacred feminine spaces. I'm still in that community. It's transitioning into a different type of community, but we're gonna start having like opportunities to bring other community members into our houses for ceremony. So that will be cool to do that. And then also like being on your podcast, or I was part of like the Wild Feminine Fair in Gig Harbor this
Mm.
summer. Um, and was a cool space to like, again, meet other people that are doing similar things, have similar vibes. So I think just finding community in this space is really helpful for me too. I think for all of us that, you know, have that witch wound that we're all trying to overcome or not let come back. That we, it's okay to express ourselves in this way and that we're relatively safe in this time to do so and that it's more fun to do it together than by yourself, I think. So, yeah, I think those are probably all the different things that I dabble in.
Yeah.
I also did I was reading a like witch book on wealth and money and she talked about how like if you're going to do spells, you shouldn't do them. I think she used the phrase like you shouldn't raw dog them, basically
Mm.
like you need some protection. So I did put some what she had recommended, I think was like salt and pepper and a bay leaf in like a jar, and you put them in like the four corners of your household. Um, and you like charge them with your own like energy and protection. So I did that. I put them in the four corners of my house on both levels of my house. And so that's like the one pretty like spelly thing that I've done so far. I did get a money candle too, and I have been lighting that during different ceremonies and things that I'm doing. Um, but yeah, I have not really crossed the threshold into doing a ton of different spells. I would love to learn more about that. Um, but I think all the other things and astrology are kind of my favorite things to dabble in right now.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you, for astrology, are you reading like weekly updates, horoscope, your own birth chart? Like
Mhm.
where do you go?
So I have two people that I follow mostly. Um, One is Channy Nicholas, who I think
Love. Yeah.
most people know. So, I mean, she's definitely a celebrity, I think, in this space, but I love her. Like, I just randomly found her podcast because I was like, oh yeah, I could listen to this more often. In the Sacred Feminine community I was in, they did like a monthly reading at the beginning of each month, as they would say, um, as we were like going into another new moon ceremony, that there would be just reading for the whole month. But they were only like half an hour, and I was getting to a point of like, I want more, I want more. And so I just randomly found her podcast and then got hooked. And so I have her app
Yeah.
and
Me too.
do all the things with her app. I do her meditations and her sleep stories, and um, I consistently listen to her podcast every week. That I actually do both. I listen to her just like overall podcasts, and then I listen to the specific one that's like about my
You're
own
right.
signs.
Yeah.
Yeah, my rising sign, which is Virgo.
I was gonna say, what are your like big three? Okay, rising
Yeah, yeah.
Virgo,
I'm Virgo, Cancer, Virgo.
Virgo, Cancer.
Uh,
Okay.
yeah. So a lot of stuff is happening for me this year. I also got, she has a daily planner,
Mm,
and a yearbook that she did for 2025. The yearbook, I don't really use at all. I got it because I thought it would be so cool. And then I like read through it. I got it for Christmas. I asked for it for Christmas last year, and I read through some of it. And then I was like, looking at an entire year astrology is kind of overwhelming. And because I have her in my ear like every week, I don't really need to go back to it. So I think it's fun to have, and definitely for this year to just have something concrete to be like, this was the astrology for this year. I'm glad I have it, but I don't really use it. But the journal I love, and sometimes I use it really frequently. Sometimes I don't, depending on just like timing and what I'm doing in my life. But it's really fun. It has two prompts and then like an area where you can do whatever. But one prompt is about your dreams, about like every morning you can just quickly jot a little thing about what you dreamt or what energy or emotion you were feeling when you woke up in the morning. And then it alternates through a series of different prompts of like, I don't know, um how can you like honor your body today, or how can you like live more into your fullest expression today, or something like that. So it's just kind of a good like little journal, but then it marks all the major events that are happening each month. And um her just style is like beyond anything I've ever seen. I feel like the graphics that she has are so crazy and cool at the same time. So she has a ton of stickers that you can like put in your journal and make it, cute and fun. Um, it's very like Venus of her. And So I really enjoy that. I feel like that is kind of my like everyday type thing. And then I follow um what is her last name? I can look her up. Sabrina, what is her last name? Look, I have her. Sabrina Lynn, there we go, from Rewilding. And I think it used to be Rewilding for women. But she's more of like embodiment and archetype type person. Her podcast is focused more on astrology, but then she talks a lot more about like the comets and the different um archetypes that come into the astrology, that it's not just the planets. So I really like that, and I feel like she gives a little bit more of an overview of like the energy of what's happening. And um I don't know. She just gives a little bit different of a flavor of astrology. So I like to tune in to her. Channy also has another podcast called Down to Astro that is more of like overview of things after they've happened. And I really like that too. That's part of astrology that I really love, is like pairing it with what actually is happening in the world. Um, I love the like as above, so below, or as without, so within. Those things really ground me. So, yeah, those are my two big ones that I follow and listen to. And um, I mean, it does shape my life. Like I've gotten to the point where I am really listening to these things all the time. And even just like right now, we're in an eclipse season. So everything's like really chaotic. And I'm seeing that in my clients. I'm seeing it in myself, in my husband, in my child. So it helps. It helps me to like, I don't know, make sense of things. And I know it can't be like super predictive, but it does help when, especially when it's something that is like about your sign. It helps me to know that there's hope for like in a month that I'm supposed to hopefully be making some more money than what I'm making right now. Or
Mhm.
right now I'm supposed to be really focusing on my relationships, because that's where all these planets are in the house, in my chart. And um so it helps to kind of just like color what I feel like I should work on. And also when I have ideas or thoughts that come into my mind, um I feel like it helps me kind of move towards those things a little bit more and listen to my intuition more. um and just have like a better connection with the universe as a whole, and how like we fit into the universe. Um, so yeah,
Yeah, like the interconnectedness. Yeah.
yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
I like when people like I think Johnny says this, but like talks about like a forecast where it's like kind of
Hmm.
like the weather where it's like, yeah, you kind of know what's
Yes.
coming.
Yeah.
It's not totally exactly what's forecasted usually, but then also it's like, how does it apply to you? And like,
Yeah.
do I need to wear a jacket to prepare? Or
Yeah.
like, am I okay risking it? Like, just things like that.
Hmm.
Um, my friend and I did a full moon circle on Sunday, like
Hmm.
during the eclipse also. And
Yeah.
we kind of talked about like, the ideas around the eclipse of like not manifesting, not doing things, and
Hmm.
that there's a lot of language around that of like kind of
Hmm.
fear-based
Yeah.
things. And my friend Izzy talked about like, you know, you can decide that like the risk is worth it. Like you can
Hmm.
decide that like you might want to still make a big purchase or like make a big decision during that time.
Yeah.
But like just know that it's right, maybe riskier than usual, or
Hmm.
that just really helped me frame it again from this like weather perspective of like,
Yeah.
do I want to risk getting rained on? Like, it's
Yeah.
my decision, but it might be, yeah, easier to go on a hike on an overcast day than like truly raining, but I might still
Hmm.
really want to do it on that day. And like, it's okay if I decide that that's worth it. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah. I do. I also am always listening to astrology things, and my business coach actually like interweaves astrology into coaching, and that's
Mm-hmm.
been very helpful for me because it does, I feel like for it like helps me learn about myself and like you said, kind of
Yes.
like how I'm showing up and like sometimes it's like, oh, this is why this is hard, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
again, because
Yeah.
like this is in this house, or like this is just a thing you're going through right now, or the kind of the planets are like a little bit against you, and that's why it
Yeah.
feels like tension.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, I feel like it's just really, yeah, solidified my like identity of self too
Mm-hmm.
really well. And I feel like that's helped me in this past year, kind of like I don't know, capitalize on the things I'm very interested in, or kind of like do all these things that I want to do. Almost like it gave me permission to like fully be myself.
Yeah.
That sometimes it's like it helps that being highlighted, like you're saying, like, oh, okay, like
Mm-hmm.
it says this, and now I can kind of view myself in that way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think
Yeah.
that's like that's been, because also astrology is super overwhelming, right? It's like it changes all
Yes.
the time, like every
Yeah.
minute, every, like, and it's always there.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I've appreciated kind of integrating it into my life, like you're saying, because it does, right? It kind of like helps me understand it
Mm-hmm.
more. Um,
Yeah.
through these different practices and learning, like you said, kind of like where things are at right now, and then how does that interact with who I am and how other
Mm-hmm.
people show up.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I was curious for you, you talking about like having, spell things in your house. Like, how do people in your life, like, what do they think of your practices or like your witchy magical self? Are they used to it now? Do they have commentary?
Thankfully, I have like the most understanding husband ever. I don't know how I got so lucky, but he's not like in this space at all. He also just didn't grow up with religion, so maybe he's just kind of like, I don't know,
Yeah.
whatever you want is fine with me because he doesn't have like strong opinions. Um, but yeah, he did say something to me that was actually like beautiful that I can't remember when he said this, but he said that as he's seen me go through more of this sacred feminine journey, that he's seen more of me come out and that he feels like I've grown more in myself. And I mean, that was just like one of the coolest, sweetest things to hear. So that was a really positive thing.
Yeah.
And like again, I think I am on the journey. Last year, it felt very much like Priestess was just like a cool thing that was like, oh, other people are doing it, so maybe I would want to do it. And I definitely feel like this last eclipse, which was on the North Node and was supposed to be like really revealing what your true like North Node is your highest and best like soul led path of like where you're supposed to be heading towards in your life. And I feel like Priestess was what I was continuing to get.
Mhm.
Um, and so I don't really know if sex priestess is a thing, but I think so. I think there's like all different types of priestesses and you kind of can like do whatever you want. I feel like as a priestess is kind of more of like how you are as a human being and then you get to kind of at least my understanding is you get to kind of create it the way that you want to. Um but I've asked my husband like, if I was a sex priestess, how would you feel about that? And he was just like I think it'd be great. So I don't know if it's just the sex part that he really enjoys about that. But yeah, he's totally down for that. My mom lives in our house with us too, and she is a little bit more like, I don't understand. I did the like protection spells when she was not here, and I didn't actually tell her that what they were or why they were there, and I was just waiting for her to kind of find them and ask about them. Um, she didn't really have much to say, but yeah, she I grew up Catholic, which a lot of people that are like have been Catholic and have gone into the sacred feminine are like, there's a lot of ritual and sacred
Yeah.
things in Catholicism that lend very well to this arena as well. Um, so maybe that's where some of this came from originally. But yeah, she doesn't like scorn it or anything. I just don't think she understands at all. She's just like, whatever, you can do you and it'll be fine. So thankfully, I don't have anyone in my life that's like, this is wrong. You should never do this. You're like worshiping the devil type thing. But I go from like my husband being super supportive, but still not really quite understanding and just being like, you do you. I love you. And then my mom being like, I really don't understand this. And you're just kind of weird, but that's fine. Um, so that's about where I'm at with that. And then all the rest of the people that I've surrounded myself with are all in this space now. I
Yeah. It's
literally have
normal.
not, I I don't really have anybody else that is completely outside of this realm other than like maybe old friends of mine that I don't see a lot. So, um, I will say though, it is a little bit hard trying to bridge this gap in the therapy community. I'm moving out of the therapy community, and that's something that I think I'm really like actually saying goodbye to once I can fully say goodbye to it. I still see some therapy clients, but I think I'm moving away from that territory. But talking to other therapists and trying to be like in that, more what people would say woo-woo space. I haven't gotten any like ridicule for it, but it just feels weird to me. I think I still have some hangups around like, are people gonna think that I'm weird for trying to like combine those things? Um, so that might just be me, but it feels like there's some friction that could possibly come up in that space. But again, nobody has really said anything to me, so that could just be in my own head.
Yeah. Yeah, I do think I don't know, there's like, I feel like I hold two things in the therapy community of kind of, there's like well, we were taught to be very like clinical and like a
Yeah.
little bit like cold and like
Yes.
not, right, not very connected and like tuned
Hmm.
in. I mean, like empathetic, but like not attached.
Yeah.
Which feels pretty like disingenuous to me, but I feel like that's definitely what I was taught in therapy school.
Yes.
And then there's also the like Christianity is so normalized, at least in
Mm.
my marriage and family therapy world, that I'm kind of like, whoa, why not? Witchcraft, right? Like,
Yes.
where I sort of like in my head, I'm like, well, they're doing it and it's totally fine. So, kind of that helps me be like, it's okay.
Yeah.
But
I
yeah,
think
I
I
mean, it
have.
also took me going to like a therapist who tarot retreat to be like, oh, right, this is the thing I can do that I felt like
Hmm.
I knew how to write clinical notes about it or things like that. But
Yeah.
yeah, it is a very rigid structure, as I
Yeah.
talked about on your podcast. And so, yeah, I definitely am always drawn to people that are like moving away from therapy. So I'm like, that's
Mm.
a good sign for me that like that's perhaps in my future as well. Or just that like it's hard for me to imagine, I guess, and maybe this is like another part of the conversation I was interested in having, like being chronically ill and disabled, that like
Hmm.
therapy can make you money. Like it's
Yes.
pretty hard to do unless you're like full cash pay,
Yes.
which also is highly judged in the therapy
Yes.
community as
Yes.
like not okay, you're not
Yes.
empathetic, you're selfish, all those things.
Yep.
So, yeah. I think
Yeah.
for me, it was kind of always like, well, this isn't sustainable if that's like the only thing I do.
I
So, how do I?
100% agree.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, how do I figure out, right, what else to do or like other income streams or other
Hmm.
ways to
Yeah.
connect? And yeah.
Yeah. I think that's where all of this really stemmed from too,
Mm.
was having health issues, also feeling like, yeah, seeing, 20 plus clients a week is just not. happening for me. It's not what I can manage and doesn't feel good to my body. And then being a cash pay therapist, I never have taken insurance in the time that I've been a well, out on my own as a therapist, the last like 5.5 years. Um, and yeah, it being hard to like know that in the community that you could be being judged. I don't think I hung my hat on that very much, but I definitely think in this time it's hard to get cash pay clients. Like a lot of people want to use their insurance because the economy is
Yeah.
not doing very well. Um, and in the business world, people talk about like, you know, there's plenty of people that still have money and can still, pay for things. But I do think that there is kind of a stigma around therapy just in general in our society. Like, the idea of going to therapy is getting a lot more commonplace. And I think lots of people, are totally fine with the idea of therapy, but actually paying therapists,
Mm.
it's
Yeah.
like paying teachers. That we are actually historically like one of the lowest paid master's degrees out there. Um, and so people want to go to therapy, but they don't really want to pay for it. And those that can pay for it, are in higher income brackets. And it is hard to be like, well, I'm just catering to richer people. But
Yeah.
at the same time, like, I also have to make a living and I also need to like pay my own bills. Um, so I don't like that. One of my like goals for future world is, universal healthcare because I think one, our healthcare should not be tied to our jobs. That's just ridiculous. And also, I would hope that it would make like things like therapy more accessible on both sides, that like it would make it more accessible for clients, but it would also maybe like raise the bar for how much money therapists should be getting and that the insurances aren't just like gouging us out of being able to make a living. Um, so yes, I don't know exactly where I was going with all of that, but
But
I
yes. Yeah.
I agree that yes, how like all of this kind of got started. Yeah, that I think I very much saw that therapy just in general, it's not scalable either because you have to be in front of people. And it
Yeah.
was so hard for me to be like, if I'm sick or something, again, you talked about how you take like 12 weeks a year off, which is amazing. Um, but it's hard when sometimes you can't plan for that. And um I just felt like I need something that is not going to require me to always be like in front of somebody to make money. That, trading dollars for hours, there's so many services that do that. And I still think that that is, amazing and that's always going to be there. But just for me personally, I wanted something that would be a little bit more scalable and that I could help more people with less energy output from myself. Um, so that's kind of why I went more down the coaching route. And now I'm like starting to be very creative and like think, oh, maybe I could be like a spiritual leader and do like all these other cool things.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I love my therapy background. It is the foundation for everything. It's where I have like learned all the skills that I have. But I do think just in general, the way that therapy is done and the way that we like the infrastructure
Yeah.
around therapy needs to be revamped a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I like talking about like the money energetics of it is interesting to me because, yeah, it's like, I feel like people have this thing in their mind where it's like, I don't want to pay for something that's hard. Like, I don't,
Yes.
I want to pay to do work, right? Like, because
Right.
that is how therapy is. Like, therapy
Yeah.
is work, it's hard work. And
Yeah.
I was trying to think of an analogy, and I feel like I can't really think of one. I'm like, it's like paying for surgery. And then I'm like, well, not really. Like, is it elective surgery? Like, where it just feels like a thing that almost like you're paying to like be in pain. Again, like not
Right.
that therapy is ideally that, but it's often like a lot harder before it gets easier.
Right.
And I think, yeah, it feels very hard to pay
Hmm.
for that out of pocket when it's like
Hmm.
I could just not. And
Right.
then I'll be over here with more money and like feel better. I think that's like the
Right.
fallacy of it. But
Yeah.
um yeah, yeah, it's
Yeah.
very interesting
Yeah.
to think about it
So,
that way.
I mean, I hope that that gets better over time because I don't want to like be like, oh, I hate the therapy community because I
Yeah,
definitely don't. But that I just think, again, like the way that people think about therapy, the way that therapists are also taught to be and to judge ourselves and each other is not helpful and just was not the space that was giving me pleasure and like a roadmap for my future. So I hope that that changes over time because I think therapy is needed. Like I still see my own therapist, my husband and I
yeah,
still see a couples therapist. Like therapy is always going to be needed, and I definitely think moving forward in our whole world, like we are in a real hard moment right now where we're all being like constantly traumatized on our phones every day. So healers in general are
yeah,
definitely going to be needed for decades, if not, centuries plus to come. So yeah, I just think we need some changes, like a lot of things.
yeah, right. Where it's like, yeah, the structure isn't
Yeah.
working. And that seems very clear. Um, and I think that's definitely part of my frustration is that it's like being a newer grad, I would look around and be like, this is it? Like,
Hmm.
oh no, this is never gonna work this way.
Yeah.
Um, but I got to graduate during COVID, so I felt like that was we were kind of being like beat over the head with the this isn't working
Mm,
um, aspect
yes.
of it. Um, yeah, trying to
Yeah.
think where do I want to go from here? Um,
I feel like I didn't really answer your question very well around like my own
mm,
illness, if you
okay.
wanted to know more about that.
Yeah, it sounds like you sort of like found out, right, that like,
Hmm.
okay, right, maybe I tried to see 20 clients a week. That's what they tell me
Hmm.
to do.
Hmm.
And it's like, oh no, my body says no, no, no to that. Like
Hmm.
what was that like process like, or how did you how did you intuitively come to the conclusion that like this isn't working for me?
Yeah. Well, I was at a group practice where the standard was like 7 clients a day. Um, and I think I worked 4 days a week. But yeah, with insurance, because we took insurance. So it was like the standard was you needed 7 clients a day to like make ends meet for the practice.
Yeah.
Um, which, for me, I didn't really feel like was going a lot back into the therapist pocket. It was kind of going more into just like continuing to expand the practice. So had some conflict with my boss and was kind of let go, but I had already like started developing my own practice. So wasn't the best like leaving terms, but it was just what needed to happen. And so I started my own practice January of 2020, not knowing that COVID was coming. But I'm glad, despite the like tumultuous stuff that I experienced in the previous practice, I did like get a lot out of it. I learned a lot. I had really good supervision and all the things that I needed in that space at the time. So I was really grateful for all the things that I had learned to be able to go out on my own. Um, and I was severely, severely burnt out by the time I started my business because I had been like seeing full caseload of clients and then trying to build a business on top of that. And I did it in like 3 months. So I was spending like every free moment of my time like building my website, and I did like a marketing course and all these things to try to like, you know, do my perfectionisty thing and make everything perfect right from the beginning. That did not work out very well. Um, but I like went like a month of, I really only had like one client that stayed with me because all the like non-compete stuff that came out of being in a group practice, which
Yeah.
I also think is dumb as therapists, but we
Well,
don't
and
need to
it's
go into that.
illegal, I have now learned. Like it's basically illegal to have like it's not like held up legally, but definitely places still do it. Like they
Yeah.
try really hard.
Yeah. It was like, oh, you can't tell your clients what your business is, but they also you can't like stop them from finding you
Yeah.
online. So it, it's just so stupid. Um, anyway, so I only had like one client, so I wasn't really doing a whole lot, and I went like a month with not doing a whole lot, and then all of a sudden my body like it flared up to the nth degree. Um, had like full blown inflammation issues and was like in and out of the hospital, trying to figure it out. It was emergency room. It wasn't like I was in a hospital stay, but I had some like severe things happening and I was pretty sick. And, people couldn't really figure out what was happening with me. And um so I ended up figuring out that I had an autoimmune disease, had a really bad experience with just like going to like a rheumatologist and them saying basically like we can't help you if you don't have any symptoms anymore. And I'd gone through like a month of antibiotics trying to like get rid of my symptoms, and just I could go on a soapbox about our medical
Yeah.
system
A
too.
whole
Like
other
we
system. Yeah.
we all know it's broken to the nth degree. Um and can be repaired. I definitely think like we can do that better, but that's for another conversation. So I started with a naturopath and started working on my health. I am still on this healing journey. I actually just found a new practitioner. I'd never heard of I'd never heard of spinal energetics before. I don't know if you have ever heard of that,
No.
or a
Interesting.
medical intuitive. If you want me to if you want her information, I can give it to you. I met her at the Wild Feminine Fair.
Cool.
Um, but yeah, it's been a long journey the last like 5.5 years of really being in, you know, so many people that deal with autoimmune stuff. It's so hard. It's like mental health. It's this like thing that nobody can really see. It's not something like your arm is chopped off or whatever. And most doctors like don't know how to handle it and don't know
Yeah.
how to treat it and like don't know what's wrong with you. And there's all this, obscurity. Like my diagnosis is not a real diagnosis. It's kind of like a in between two different types of autoimmune disorders. It's like a mixture of the two. Um, and so it's just hard to like communicate fully around it. People don't really know like what to do for you. There's kind of this like medical way of managing it. And then there's all this other stuff like Gabor Mate's work and whatnot around like the emotional side of it. And it's just hard. I feel like I've worked so much on both sides and yet still haven't really fully been able to, you know, really get anywhere. I feel like I'm kind of still in the same place that thankfully I'm not in like full blown like panic flare up, but I've, I the woman that I met with yesterday, she kind of said her same experience was like, two steps forward and then like one, two, or three steps back. Sometimes
Yeah.
that's like you get a little bit ahead of it and feel like, okay, I'm doing okay. And then something like makes you backslide again. And it's just been really frustrating. I feel like becoming a mom has been really difficult with that. Like sleep deprivation really
Mm.
hits me hard. Like my
Yeah.
body does not do well with not getting sleep. I don't think anybody's body does well with not getting sleep, but mine specifically does not do well with not getting sleep. And yet I still like have to get up in the middle of the night with my kiddo. My kiddo has a cold right now, and he was up coughing all last night, and we were up for like 2+ hours last night. And it's hard. It's really hard having a body that needs extra attention and extra care, and yet our society does not really uphold that and give you space and room to do that. And even like you and I talked on my podcast, even having my own business, like I don't always do a very good job of still taking care of myself, even when I have kind of the space and room to do so, that I still often operate like I don't. And that's something that I'm still continuing to like try to unlearn for myself. It's how to actually give myself more time and freedom. But it's hard when, you've been taught that like not doing something is not productive.
Yeah.
And especially when you're a business owner and you have to do like all the things all the time and wear all the hats and like learn all these skills that you did not think that you needed to learn when you became a business owner. Um, it feels like, there's always something to do. So I'm really learning that for myself of like how to really try to take that time for me. But that is my ultimate goal. Like, I want to build a business that is sustainable for my body. And I have hope with this new practitioner doing spinal energetics. It's kind of like Reiki,
Yeah.
but with some other stuff in it. And she says like she's a medical intuitive. So she also has some like what I would akin to like psychic
Yeah.
abilities too, to kind of like understand where some of this is coming from. I do specifically for myself, I do think I have some like ancestral trauma that I just
Mm.
like don't have access to at all.
Yeah.
That needs to really be like uprooted, which on one hand I feel like honored that that is my mission, and also like why me?
Right. It's
Why?
also like, but what if I didn't?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like why do I have to be the one to like suffer in my body so much in order to like heal generations of trauma? But if I can, then great. If not, then I'm not a happy camper. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, that's kind of been my journey with illness. And it's taken me a long time. I still don't even feel fully comfortable saying like I have chronic illness. I don't know. For the longest time, I just kind of pushed it to the side and I didn't really want to say that that was like a thing that was really impacting me, but it does really impact me. Like I can't eat a lot of things. I've been on like a low FODMAP diet for like 5 years, which I've been told is not great, but that's just like what what people have told me to do. My body doesn't deal with food very well. I don't have a lot of the nutrients that I'm supposed to be getting because I don't think my body can digest food very well. And so um, it's a lot. I have to take a lot of supplements. It's very expensive. I
Yeah.
spend a lot of money every month buying supplements, and that's something that I would like to not have to do anymore. Um, and yeah, it's just constant. I can't really eat out at all. I'm supposedly like celiac, gluten intolerant, which also angers me to no end when people are like, people that are gluten intolerant. It just like, it became like a fad that like,
Mm.
people in LA started doing. And then people just got annoyed that people were saying, oh, I can't eat gluten. And I don't know. There's just a section of people that are annoyed at people that are gluten intolerant or gluten free. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I legitimately can't eat gluten. So, and
Don't
it
poison me. Yeah.
pisses me off to no end that everything that is gluten free is way more expensive.
Yeah.
Um, and dairy free, I can't eat dairy. Like all these like alternative ways of eating are way more expensive than anything else. And it's like, I literally can't eat those things. So it's a lot. And I'm sure you don't want me to rant forever on this, but it's been a lot. And I want to give permission to anyone that has a chronic illness that it's okay to step into that for you. Again, I'm like, I'm not the poster child of a chronic illness. I still feel like I don't have it as bad as a lot of people do, but um,
But that's not how it
it,
works.
no, but it's not how it works. And I'm learning that I need to just like be okay saying that it's hard because it is hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're open to it, I'd be curious to transition into like doing a spread together.
Yes.
Um, I'm gonna grab, I think I'm also gonna do Oracle, so we'll just see how it goes. But um yeah, we're like I said, they're sort of about like goals and challenge.
Yeah.
Personally, for myself, I'm probably like just gonna generically think about goals and challenge. Like I think
Okay.
the health stuff's kind of interesting. I know I also have that, and like I also think about like kind of the land and like the dreaming portion that we
Yes.
talked about more on your podcast about yeah, wanting to get land and stuff like that is coming into my mind as we think about this too. But
Hmm.
yeah, why don't we go ahead and shuffle however you want to do so. And my plan is that I will read for you and you will read for me.
Okay.
And we'll just go off vibes as to our
Okay. So do you want
interpretations.
me to shuffle my cards?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So yeah, we'll each have our own decks, but then I will basically, when I pull cards, I'll be thinking about you, what's blocking your path between you and your goals? What are you meant to learn from
Okay.
taking on this challenge, and what will be key in helping you to overcome this challenge?
Okay. I'm
Um,
not really versed in reading for people,
that's okay.
so
That's what I said. We're just gonna go off vibes, and I'm gonna thank you for being willing.
yeah, of
We'll
course.
just kind of see, yeah, what comes up because I'm also pulling from a deck that I got on Sunday, so I am not very familiar with it. It's this Norse goddess one that I have. It's very pretty, but it's all Norse goddesses, so I get to practice my like ancient Norwegian or whatever
Cool.
runes and things. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and cut now and pull your three. So yeah, the first one, what is blocking the path between you and your goals? What are you meant to learn from taking on the challenge? And what will be key in helping you to overcome the challenge? Okay.
I'm shuffling.
Okay.
Just while I'm doing this, do you know kind of like the difference between Oracle and Tarot? I don't know if you know the history like behind why we have both Oracle and Tarot and just I don't know, in a brief synopsis, like what
Yeah. Yeah.
what the I don't know, benefits of each one are.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, tarot generally historically comes from like playing cards and people using playing cards
Mhm.
as a divinatory method to divine the future.
Mhm.
I would say, like, people say it was like in Italy, France that people started doing it like not that long ago, like 18th century. Um, and probably people were doing it before that. I think that's just more that there are records than in like Europe. Um,
Mhm.
and yeah, there's lots of divination methods. So tarot is one. This deck has runes. So like runes are a whole other one that is more ancient than tarot. Um, Yeah, what else? Like traditional tarot of like 78 cards. So basically like a traditional tarot deck or like card deck has 52 cards. And then they add on, I'm like trying to think about the math right now. So 56 cards with jokers. That then you would add on the 22 major arcana cards, which are more like people or archetypes. Um, and in like the early 1900s, yeah, someone basically made a like famous deck. And a lot of decks from then on are based off of that. So Pamela Coleman Smith did the art for it, a woman, and it was published by William Ryder and Son in 1909. So basically, like some dudes made tarot, like
Of
made a
course.
popular tarot deck. Yeah. And then like Taylor Coleman Smith did all the art for it. And so when we say like Rider Waite, it's like these two dudes. So I usually try to say Rider Waite Smith because like really a lot of the symbolism and like continued art in
Hmm.
tarot is from her and she
Hmm.
created it. And sort of they pulled in different like mysticism and like ancient Egypt and like lots of different other like magical kind of things to create this deck.
Hmm.
Um, and again, you can buy a Rider-Waite deck that is sort
Hmm.
of based off this traditional. It's very like yellow. You've probably seen it, a lot of
Hmm.
symbols on it. I have never had that deck. I don't really want it. Like, it's fine. It's not really for me.
Yeah.
But most tarot decks now are based off of like that deck.
Hmm.
Um, and sometimes they switch some cards up or things like that, or rename some. I have decks that rename all of the like knight, king, all to like feminine things, or like that it's like
Hmm.
all women. But generally they have that structure. I don't really know much about the history of Oracle. Like it makes me think about when I researched like paganism and polyamory and like was trying to talk about like overlaps in community and also like values.
Hmm.
And the idea is that paganism was basically just anything that wasn't Christianity. And that's
Hmm.
like kind of how I feel like Oracle is. It's like you have tarot, and then like anything that's like not tarot is
Hmm.
Oracle.
Yeah.
Oracle generally has its own structure, but every Oracle deck is different. Like
Yeah.
I have four, they all have different numbers of cards, like 48, 39,
Hmm.
40, and like they're all different. They usually have
Yeah.
their own, like I said, structure. The one I'm going to pull from is like Norse goddesses and runes. It has 30, it's 9 cards. But yeah, I think it allows it to be more free form. It uses the number of runes that there are and then does them reverse, like upright and reversed as separate cards.
Hmm.
So it's like you could never probably create a whole 78 cards based
Hmm.
off of runes because there's not enough runes. So in that sense, it like allows it to be more free form. I think also Oracle decks often have different shapes. Like there are
Hmm.
circle ones, like this one is sort of like traditional tarot shaped, but I have ones that are smaller, and the Alana
Hmm.
Fairchild ones I feel like are big, more
Yeah.
square. There's like the Wild Unknown deck. I think that's the one that's like a circle. It's like a white deck. It's a common Oracle
Hmm.
one. It has like animals on it.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, so I would just say like they both have structure. Tarot has like a bit more rigidity to its structure. And kind of if you like learn the 78 cards of tarot, you can kind of pick up any deck and like
Hmm.
translate from there.
Yeah.
Whereas Oracle, right, I would say like the barrier to entry lower because
Hmm.
like each deck is its own thing. Like you said, right, you can pick up the deck if it has a good guidebook, you're like, cool, I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
Um, but it means if you pick up a different Oracle deck, like you can't necessarily transfer those skills if it doesn't have a guidebook and you're just like, all right, we're just going off of whatever the imagery is. So,
Yeah.
um, I do find that people gravitate towards one or the other, and then usually after some time will like welcome in the other one.
Hmm.
But usually people kind of like have a preference, I would
Hmm.
say. And like I said, I definitely tarot was like my first one that I found. Again, I don't know if like there had been both what I would have chosen, but um, and I probably did like the structure of it a bit. I like that I can move between them.
Hmm.
Um, but I feel like I'm discovering like the fun things about Oracle now because I have 4 decks and I got them all within the last year. So of Oracle. So
Hmm.
I feel like that's where I'm expanding more so. But
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think maybe just the fact that like people actually, have skill in tarot and charge for tarot readings may have been what I felt. Because now I'm not intimidated by it, but maybe at the time that's kind of, yeah, like you said, if you pick up an Oracle deck and it has a guidebook, then I mean, you just read the guidebook.
yeah.
It's not a big deal,
Yeah,
but it
like right,
seems like,
lower barrier to
yeah.
entry. Yeah.
It seems like
Um,
tarot takes a little bit more like finesse and know how to understand the cards and like translate them in the
Yeah,
way
and I think
you
there's like
do.
more gatekeeping.
Yeah.
Like people definitely like to police each other, I would say, in tarot community of like, oh, you should shuffle this way, or like,
Hmm.
oh, you have to be given your first deck, or like
Hmm.
I tried to do a whole like tarot mythology episode in my first season because I was like, no, like I disagree. I don't think you need to do any of those things.
Yeah.
But yeah, I read for myself for years and like didn't tell anyone and just like did it on my own. And it
Hmm.
wasn't until I started just like casually posting like a spread I would do on my Instagram stories and like not usually saying anything about it, just like a picture of the 4 cards I pulled, that people started to be like, "Oh, do you want to like read for me?" Like, "Oh, I didn't know you did tarot." And I was like, "Oh." People are coming out of the woodwork to like talk about tarot.
Yeah.
Um, so that was like kind of fun. And yeah, reading for other people has helped me like understand the cards better. Just
Hmm.
kind of in a way where I feel like I guess I get to see the cards differently when they work for other people. That
Yeah.
like helps me be like, oh, okay, interesting. People pull
Hmm.
very, when I pull cards for others, I'll be like, I've never seen these cards in my life. Like they don't come up for me.
Isn't
Uh,
that wild how you can
yeah.
have a deck and there's still cards that it's like I've never pulled this card
Yeah.
even
And it's like,
after
again,
all
it's
the
like
times.
obviously I've seen it
Yeah.
because I've looked at all of them, but it's
Yeah.
like, oh, it doesn't come up for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was like a interesting experience at first to really be like, oh, this is real, like kind of have that like
Yeah.
affirmed to me.
Yeah.
And I like did readings where like I don't really know what people are asking. Like I did
Yeah.
one for my sister where her and her friend were like at my family cabin and she was excited about it. And they sort of were like talking and were like, okay, we want like this kind of thing. And I pulled cards and just kind of like gave whatever I saw. And they were like, oh my gosh, like, how did you know? Where I was like, I don't really know anything about what you're like kind of asking about or anything. But it felt like they were like, oh, this is exactly right what I needed to
Mhm.
hear. That I
Yeah.
was like, oh, cool. Like, that's fun. I think it gave me kind of like a greater appreciation for like, oh yeah, like I do know some of these cards are,
Hmm.
um, because I definitely tried to memorize at first, but it's like 78 cards is a lot.
Yeah.
And it never really worked for me. There's lots of books about how to memorize tarot.
Hmm.
But yeah, I just learned that I practice like intuitive tarot, which is like going off vibes,
Hmm.
like I said.
Yeah.
So yeah, do you have more time to talk?
Yes.
Okay. I know we're like at our hour and a half now, but okay. If it sounds good, I'm gonna like tell you the cards I pulled for you and what
Okay.
I think they're about. And
Okay.
I'll go first, and then we'll see what cards you pulled for me, if
Okay.
that sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay. So the first prompt was, what is blocking the path between you and your goals? And I pulled it and immediately in my head was like, lol, because it says inheritance, family, and home. And it was making me think about that like ancestral trauma that you talked
Hmm.
about. I'm gonna turn on my self view so I can see, but it has it's like a very nice looking card. You have like
Hmm.
an owl and like, I don't know, what's a goose? Yeah.
Hmm.
She looks very, but yeah, this is like Frigg, the goddess of everyone.
Hmm.
Um, all of these have little like poems. So it says, I'm Frigg, goddess of all, Fensalir in my is my glorious hall. Gifted with sight, I give no prophecy. May Ophala bless you with great legacy. So there's sort of like the lore of Frigg, the goddess, attended by many handmaidens who respect and adore her. I'm like, oh, there's your priest, your
Mhm.
priestess coming up.
Yeah.
Let's see, described as being the highest goddess. She is what Friday, the day, is named after. She's named, that's what Frigg is. She's gifted with the sight of prophecy, yet never speaks of what she knows. She has a belt, it says, that depicts, oh, it's the constellation of Orion's belt. Her motherly nature can also be found in the folk tale of Mother Goose. Okay, so that's why there's a goose on here. She lives in a home filled with marshlands, the water a nod to her emotional being. She's attended by 12 handmaidens who serve her in the home and hearth domain inside her gate. So, like, in her like property, basically. The home formed a vital piece of inheritance passed down from generation to generation to provide security, stability, and a place of family love. Frigg blesses the home and fills it with warmth and compassion. So for like the divinatory meaning, you have the rune Ophala, which again, it's like up at the top here. Let's see if I can get the glare to be off, but it's kind of like a, I don't know, fish looking. It's
Hmm.
like the little circles around the edges. It says it's the rune of inheritance, meaning fixed wealth refers to the family home and land passed down from generation to generation, stability of the home related to passing down heirlooms and antiques. It says it's also the rune like of your home. It helps with stability in the home. It's paired with another. It's basically kind of like, I think it's like two runes together that make this one. So it's also paired with Behu, which is a wonderful sign to purchase a home or invest in property. This rune's a positive sign if you're having any housing complications, that they'll be rectified and your stable base will arrive soon. Um, yeah, so very much about like ancestral things. It says sometimes the gifts or traits that you might inherit might be spiritual or psychic abilities, or again, passing down wisdom or knowledge. It refers to what lies within your DNA. Experience and memories of your ancestors lie within you and are a part of who you are. Um, yeah, it's interesting that the prompt for this was like, what's blocking you?
Hmm.
Um, because it's like I read this and I'm like, oh, it's so lovely, right? And then it's
Yeah.
also right that maybe there's this like more shadowy side to it of
Hmm.
like, oh, you're getting the gifts and also you're getting the inherited traits or just things that
Hmm.
were right imprinted or your ancestors experienced that like you're saying that almost like now in your genetic line you're being kind of like forced to deal with,
Hmm.
um, which is yeah a lot harder. I just always think about that like the ancestral line, I'm like, they know you can handle it, which again, I'm like, isn't always helpful, but it's
Hmm.
like, it feels to me like, oh, this is like the time it
Hmm.
like it manifested itself because I don't know, it was ready to be dealt with, or
Yeah.
that there's something to like transmute there. And then also it's almost right about this, like, what legacy do you want to kind of like leave for the future? And
Hmm.
maybe part of that is this like healing things from the past.
Yeah. Yeah. Can I like interject of
Yeah,
things
yeah,
that are resonating with me?
yeah. I would love
That
to.
picture, it has an owl,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I don't really know a lot about spirit animals, but there was one year, I think it was like a combination of like Christmas and a couple other holidays, that I got like 4 or 5 different mugs from various people that
Mm.
all had owls on them.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, there's something that
There's
multiple people are
something in
seeing
the
about
air.
me that resonates with an
Yeah.
owl. So I've always kind of adopted that as like, I think that is somewhat of my spirit animal because that is something somebody, so many people have seen in me. So it's crazy that there's an owl on there. Um, so many of the things that you said about Frigg was like, yes, 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 about me. Like I'm a Cancer sun, so I'm very
Mm,
much like a mother.
yeah.
I've always been the mother hen of all my friends. Um, and yeah, just some of the trait that you said about um something how like she is an oracle and
Yeah. Like
but
psychic gifts.
yeah, but doesn't speak about it is
Yeah.
something that I am learning for myself is like I have all this knowledge and all these things that I compile for myself, but I don't typically speak about it. And that's what I'm working on with my podcast is working on like how do I actually disseminate that information that I'm getting.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, just really again, like these cards are always like crazy spot on.
Yeah. The synchronicities. Yeah.
The
I feel like I
synchronicity.
have to
Yeah.
grab. I'm like, I bought this on Sunday. And I'm like, she also is like, I mean, the owl is usually in tarot cards is the high
Mhm.
priestess. Like, usually the high priestess has an owl with her.
Wow.
And I'm
I
like,
didn't
oh,
even know that.
yeah, this is you in your crown as your high priestess self, perhaps.
Wow.
Um, yeah, very interesting. Yeah, I'm trying to think. I know one of my decks has her. Yeah, with the High Priestess card. I think that is like the traditional Rider-Waite depiction. It's like a person, and then they have the owl either perched
Hmm.
like here or, and sometimes it's like the symbol of like wisdom, like you're saying, of kind of like getting this information and then thinking about like, it's like it's one thing to get it, and then it's like a
Hmm.
whole other thing to like share it.
Yeah.
Um, because I think too, again, it's like when we read for ourselves, it can feel like, well, I'm ready for that. Right, I asked for
Mm.
this. I'm ready.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
I've definitely pulled cards in the presence of other people. Like I've pulled cards for someone, and there were other people in the room, and I was like, oh, I think some of these cards are for someone else. And it is like a
Hmm.
challenging moral quandary of like, do I share that with them? Like, do they
Mm.
want to know?
Yeah.
Um,
Consent of cards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again that yeah, like they weren't choosing to be in the reading, but then they were like energetically
Mhm.
around.
Yeah.
Um and yeah, for me it kind of depends on the setting. If I'm like at my tarot event or like things where I'm
Hmm.
like people are a little more consenting to be in it, then I might tell them like, "Oh, I think this card's for you." Um but I think yeah. I think that's important too, because I feel like with that is like the thing that people find scary about tarot or oracle, is like the future aspect of it, of like, is this going to come true? Like the sort of the pop
Hmm.
culture side of it, of like, oh, you pull the death card, now you're gonna die. Like,
Mm.
where it's
I
like,
don't
well,
necessarily think it's that cut and dry, but
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I think it just gets depicted as like, yeah,
Yes.
it's either like the future and it's like
Yeah.
set, or it's like kind of like doom and gloom. And yeah, for me, I always think more about like, this is like a potential path.
Hmm.
And like, you can decide if you want to go down that path or if you want to change it.
Yeah.
But that's sort of like the avenue it's going down right
Hmm.
now.
Yeah.
Okay.
See, and I love the future casting. I'm like, please tell me my
Yeah.
future.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, right, especially if you're used to getting kind of like downloads, it just like feels normal to be like, oh yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's gonna happen, and like it does.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I have to think sometimes about like context of other people. Or I think about it for my podcast of like, yeah, what have people heard? Like what mythology do people have around tarot?
Hmm.
Um, Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna look at the next card, which is what are
Yeah.
you meant to learn from taking on the challenge? Um, And this card visually is very interesting. It just looks tumultuous. It's like a ship on the water, and almost like a siren or a mermaid or something.
Mm.
Yeah, goddess of the deep sea, casting her net to pull sailors to their doom. Chill. She was the mother of nine daughters who personify the ocean waves, the goddess of stormy, savage seas who takes drowned men to her hall. So yeah, what are you meant to learn? So the words are overwhelm, loss of control, and confusion. Um, and then we'll see what like more of the divination meaning is. It says she was the goddess that was the most feared in Scandinavia during the Viking Age because people had to go oversea basically to get anywhere,
Hmm.
with all the fjords and things. And the offerings were made to her, so she would provide a calm sea and safe passage over the rolling waves. Um, yeah, and all of her daughters. Okay, so with the divination meaning, so the rune is Lagus Merkstoff. I'm gonna have to work on my Norwegian. It's at the top there. So yeah, it kind of
Okay.
looks like a check mark, I would say, like
Hmm.
the rune.
Hmm.
It's the rune of overwhelm, being drowned by forces that often reside within, particularly overwhelming, strong emotions. It's intimidating, inspiring fear, anxiety, and loss of control. It says if the rune is reversed, it calls your attention to your emotional well-being. Are you drowning in overwhelming emotions? Are you ignoring them and swimming against the tide? Are you carried away emotionally, soon to plummet over the raging waterfall? And then it talks about emotions are our body's way of making sense of the world and serve a very important purpose. Reflect upon your emotional state, allowing yourself to feel deeply and without judgment. Yeah. What do you think of this?
I mean, it's kind of dope to be a, a
Like
goddess that
goddess of
like
the sea. Yeah.
yeah.
I know she looks pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean anything with water always resonates because I am a Cancer
Yeah.
sun. And the emotional state too. I think I've been learning because I feel like as a therapist and because I'm a Cancer, like I've always felt very deeply. I've never been somebody that ran away from emotions. And so I've had a hard time trying to understand like how can I have like repressed emotions or emotions
Mm.
that I'm not fully feeling because I feel like I am really in tune with emotions. Um, Lately, I've been thinking, like, because I am such a space holder for other people, that sometimes I do like push my own
Mm.
emotions down because it's obviously not helpful to be in my emotions when I'm holding space for other people's emotions. And so I wondered if there was something to that of like me not fully expressing my emotions because I don't always give myself room and space to do that. And then, layer motherhood on top of that, where I'm constantly having to like regulate my emotions for my 3-year-old toddler. Um, so I'm wondering if there's some stuff there. And then again, like the whole like ancestral trauma stuff of just stuff that I don't even know about that is
Yeah.
there that I need to fully like express and process through that is not necessarily even mine. Um, I think is there. So uh, in my healing journey around my autoimmune stuff and my body, that's what I am turning towards right now is like I've done so much bio stuff with a naturopath and with a functional medicine doctor that now I'm turning towards more emotional
Yeah.
stuff to see if that's where I really need the healing. And I'm feeling like that's probably where it is. And so
Yeah.
um, I do think that there is a barrier here around not having emotions that haven't been fully expressed and felt yet. And thankfully, again, like I'm not afraid to feel them, but I'm like, I
You're
guess
like,
I
where
need some
are they?
help.
Yeah.
I need some help to get them to the surface.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, it says in here, if the tumultuous waves are caused by others that you feel constantly need your rescue, it's time to give yourself stability. Rather than diving in to save those who are drowning, become the lighthouse, firmly planted on solid ground. You can light the way for others without risking your own well-being. Just made me think of that too, about like, right, doing therapy or coaching where with other people's emotions sometimes can like overtake, right? Like your
Hmm.
own
Hmm.
stuff, whereas you're meant to be, right? Sort of the solidity that can like hold them in that place.
Hmm.
Yeah. It says stay strong, for soon it will calm. So but yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, right, thinking about the sea, I'm like, yeah, you like get to be tumultuous. Like
Hmm.
like the sea goes through so many different states and is so affected by the weather or right, like
Hmm.
other boats or different things that
Hmm.
um that yeah, it's kind of like it can hold all of the different emotions. Like you
Yeah.
said, like, okay, I'm ready, right? Like
Yeah.
I can handle it. Like now, how do I actually kind of like excavate it or like
Yeah.
get out the this maybe like trauma that other people have experienced?
Hmm.
Okay, so we'll go into the last one, which is what will be key in helping you to overcome the challenge. And this one, oh, it's very cool looking. It's like going into a magical tree. It's called AWAS, and it says endurance, stability, and spiritual journey. It actually kind of looks like the Fool card in tarot, which usually has like a little, the old-timey equivalent of like a knapsack, which was like your lunch tied in like a thing that attaches to a stick
Hmm.
that you like carry off with you. She
Yeah.
like has that in this one. Um, so it says, I am Sayakana, woman of prophecy, seeress witch. I travel the world tree. Enduring journeys, divine realm connection. May Ewas be stability as you seek direction. She's a woman of magic and prophecy, practicing witchcraft, both malevolent and benevolent, for weal and for woe. She's a powerful witch who traverses the nine realms of Yggdrasil. Um, the rune like translates to witchcraft woman, a woman who's well versed in the magical art. In Norse mythology, it was like any magic was viewed as a feminine craft used for divination, shape-shifting, cursing, causing madness, or other magical purposes. And any man who practiced it was labeled unmanly. It's very interesting. Um, what else? In the divination, it says that the rune means yew tree, like the type of tree, the very old, like yew tree. It says it represents the world tree in Norse mythology that upholds the nine realms. Some translations of the text label the world tree as ash. Um, but it says that refers to the large tree with needles, the yew tree. Um, it's described as an evergreen tree. Yeah, like the mighty yew, Awas is a reminder to remain firmly grounded, rooted to the earth while reaching towards the divine realms for guidance. Its connection between this realm and the realms beyond, an ability to connect to ancestors below and goddesses and gods above. It requires endurance and persistence, knowing the answers you seek are not far away. Yew trees are often found in cemeteries and are representative of life, death, and rebirth. And the journey from this life to the afterlife is symbolized in this. Perhaps you have embarked on a spiritual journey or are harnessing your intuitive gifts within. It's the rune of shamanic journeying, allowing you to connect through an altered state of consciousness. Discover where this path leads for you, knowing that it takes persistence, commitment, endurance, and courage to walk your true path. You have the strength of a yew tree, strong in character and unbreakable in spirit. Look at you going in that tree. Just being like, what's next? We'll find out.
It's kind of how I feel right now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's very cool.
I think that's very spot on. I think my spiritual journey has been what I need to get me through everything right now, but especially like where I'm going in life and what like my true north is. Um, I did a birth chart reading a little bit ago, and it pointed toward the fact that like sacred feminine stuff is where I'm supposed to
Mm.
actually like be and make my money. Um, so I think that's very helpful. I've also gotten cards that say that I tend to be, I don't know the specific verbiage for this, but like maybe like a light being or somebody that likes being more in like the higher planes and higher frequency and more like
Yeah.
heavenly realm, and that being on earth tends to be harder for me. And I
Mm.
think that that is true. And that card seemed like it was saying, continuing to stay rooted and grounded while also being able to access those planes of the higher realm. And then also, I guess not really like lower realm, but kind of like behind you, that ancestral realm.
Yeah.
Um, that speaks to me of my constant like work to be present and in the moment and be like in the 3D realm instead of like up in the clouds and in my mind and my imagination all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also think I like how it said, right? Like, yeah, if you're the tree, you have, right, you're reaching up a lot of the time, but also
Yeah.
you have to have like the stability, which I think also sometimes is like the shadow work, right? Like the not love and light parts of things. I recently read like a fiction book series that's all about the Norse like gods and goddesses, and yeah, the main character is blessed both by like a goddess of healing and then also like the goddess of hell. And yeah, she can bring people back from the dead. So she like literally
Mm.
goes below this
Yeah.
tree like
Hmm.
into hell and kind of like yeah, basically brings like ancestors, not just her own, but like an army of skeletons like in Pirates of the Caribbean. That's what I
Mm.
think of. Like to kind of like enact revenge on the
Hmm.
in the material world and
Yeah.
um yeah, but it's almost like yeah, you have to like use the power of like
Hmm.
the ancestors or the like yeah, the harder parts or the
Hmm.
shadowy parts of things
Hmm.
you've been through or things like that to like to stay grounded and
Yeah.
not just be looking for more like above too.
Yeah. Yeah. But I like the symbolism around like um birth, death, that type
Yeah,
of life
right. The maiden
cycle.
mother crone of it all.
Because I feel like that is partly like that's what I'm drawn to. And I feel like as a therapist, coach, priestess, all wrapped in one, um, I see the arc. I see a
Mm,
lot of the like now being in the sacred feminine space, like the cycle. And I think more than most, I tend to be pretty grounded and okay with death. I've had a few close deaths. I think maybe a parent might be different for me, but I had like my grandmother pass away, and we
mm,
actually like sat there and watched her pass away in the room. And I've always had like a peace around death. Didn't have, I was like sad, but I didn't have a lot of grief around it. And so I've always wondered if there's just something there where I am not so afraid of that, and I know that it's like part of the life cycle and part of
yeah.
like, where we came from, where we're going to go. Um so there's like something there for me.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes me think of like death doulas that like
Yes.
right
Yeah.
have this like presence and almost like vocation to like help people
Yeah.
decide like how they want to move on and transition in that way.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think that's really cool. I want to have a death doula on my podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Let me do yours.
Okay.
So, what's the first prompt?
Yeah. What is blocking the path between you and your goals?
It's blocking the path between you and your goals. Oh, I've gotten this one actually a lot. It's what do you feel?
Mm,
Oh, by the way, my deck is called Sacred Rebels
okay.
Oracle, which
Say
I also felt was like very
Oracle.
apropos for my.
Yeah. Love that.
Um, so this one I'll read it, but I know it's like having different choices in both of your hands and like being okay to just pick one basically, that it's okay to let yourself, instead of always being in your head or second guessing yourself about it, that it's like allowing yourself to just like pick a path and see where you go with it. um this book unfortunately is like very long, and I'm also not great of like picking out
That's
things.
okay. Can
So
you show me the image again? I want to see it
yeah,
on here. Oh yeah. So
yeah,
yeah, it's like a
uh,
balancing, but
yeah,
also like a
yeah. I can read like the first paragraph. It says there are many opinions around you. Some are helpful, but others are distracting you from your truth. Although it can be helpful to hear the thoughts of others, when it all comes down to it, you will have to come to your own decision. Do you know how unique you are? How your path is your path to be chosen, lived, and created only by you? Someone else cannot become the source of your decision making power without negative repercussions for both of you in the long run. Um, This oracle comes to you because you have become swept up in thinking things through. So, yeah, it's very much like getting out of your head and back into your body. Um, you've been thinking about which way to go with a matter of importance, and you have got a bit stuck in the logic of just the decision making process. Sometimes we have to accept that any path is a path forward, and if it is not the best path, we can change our approach later on if needed.
mm-mm.
If we are slightly off base with a decision, life will often shift and move to guide us back on track. We don't have to be perfect. In fact, there is rarely ever a perfect choice to be made, just some choices that feel more heart honoring than others. Sometimes we can only really know in hindsight if we made the best choice possible in that moment. At the time of decision making, we only really have our internal wisdom to rely upon, and that is all that we need. Um, so, yeah, essentially, one, allowing yourself to make the decision, not sourcing from outside sources so much that you, I love always that like reminder that we have everything inside of us that we need to make our decisions, to like create what we want. Um, and to, I think this is helpful for me to know that, like, yeah, if you choose one path and then decide against it later, that's totally fine. And
Yeah.
sometimes just being in that like analysis paralysis is more harmful than just like choosing a path and letting yourself figure it out as you go.
Yeah. Yeah. And I definitely like have been feeling that about this land where I kind of told you that like everyone's like, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? And I'm like, I don't know yet. I've been here like 1 week. Uh, but I think there are some things that I know. Like I'm like, yeah, I do want goats. Like even if they're a little, they like to get out of their enclosure, or like even if they're a little bit harder to
Mhm.
contain versus sheep, like it excites me. And so that's like a good sign that it's a thing that I want to do, even if like we're saying, even if the external forces are like, are you sure? Um, that like that. And yeah, growing up, I always hated making choices. I felt very rushed into it of like I
Mhm.
needed to know. Like
Yeah,
right, like pick the right thing, very.
right.
So I used to just be like, I don't know. Like it would just be like, no, I'm not going to participate in
Mhm.
choosing. That was my coping mechanism. So now I generally know like I can take some time. Like usually there's not actually a rush.
Mhm.
And that helps me, yeah, get more into like how do I actually feel?
Mhm.
Don't talk to other people. Just like how do I, what feels right? And almost like trying it on of like,
Mhm.
okay, like, yeah, I'm gonna go down this path and like see how it feels.
Mhm.
And then I can change my mind, which I always forget that's an option.
Yeah. I do like this book because it has like the full description and then it has like a healing process. So it gives you
Mm,
like a little bit of homework. I mean,
yeah.
usually it's just like in the moment something to do, but um, I can send you these since we're
Yeah, that would be fun.
time wise, it would be
Yeah.
a lot to have you do all of these, but if you
Yeah.
wanted to do them,
We'll
we
enter
can.
our third hour of podcasting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So, second card.
Yeah. What are
Uh,
you meant to learn from taking on this challenge?
you got Beyond the Mind, the Heart Beats. This is a
Oh,
pretty card.
ooh, it
Um,
is. Very
yeah.
like in the cosmos
Yeah.
and like DNA. I see the like
Yeah.
DNA strand.
Yeah. There's like a bird's nest on top of her head. She's like kind of floating in the cosmos. Oh, she has like a DNA strand going around her. There's like fall leaves. There's also
Mhm.
a lot of different things happening. There's like a necklace that is breaking. Um, there's a hermit crab that's like next to her face.
Hmm.
Some feathers that are like in her hair and like flying up. And her face is like half half face and then one side is like translucent and showing her skeletal, like her bones. Um, so that's interesting. So I'm interested to see what it says. 21. Beyond the mind, the heart beats. In the chaos of modern life and the constant fluctuations of our minds, it can be difficult to remember that a sublime sanctuary lies within. Yet it is always there. Beneath the ceaseless activity, there is an endless, vast spaciousness that restores and connects us to something greater, something that exists outside of time. Some might call it eternity. Within that eternity, sacred sound is felt rather than heard. That sacred sound is actually the reverberating heartbeat of the entire universe. Your own heart's rhythm sounds within the greater universal heartbeat. The totality of life, all of your being, can be felt as one through listening to and feeling for the sacred sound of the heart beating within you. It is through this heartbeat that we experience a love that is more than preference or attachment. This is the love that inspires, energizes, and moves us to create even beyond what we once thought was possible. Your love for life, the need to feel alive and express yourself, and the quest for that which is truly fulfilling, these are the sacred urges that rebel against fear and promote passion for being alive. They flow through your blood and can be felt through the beating of your heart. This oracle has a message for you. There is the way of the mind, which can make mountains out of molehills, even when it thinks it is turning mountains into molehills. There is the way of the heart. It is subterranean and moves subtly beneath possible obstacles, in- intelligently shifting with exquisite sensitivity, sensing the way forward through dangerous pathways and responding to what is before it, even and responding to what is before it even occurs in the physical world. However, with this heart's intelligence, we cannot see and know in the same way that we do when we allow the mind to direct us. We have to be open to another way if we want to benefit from the innate intelligence of the heart. So it essentially, I maybe our fields are getting crossed, or I actually pulled for myself because I think I just got this card too.
Mm,
It essentially is saying like being able to, pull from your heart again, leading from your heart instead of your head.
yeah.
Um, which I mean could go with your decision making card of like that's part of your way of moving through that, or the obstacle that you have is like leading from your heart again instead of from your head. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, and that it's okay to like uh to not like have a good explanation or like not have people understand.
yeah,
It's like, well, if it feels right to you, like just go for it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, for
What was
sure.
the phrase on the card again? Like,
Beyond the mind, the heart beats.
okay.
All right. And the last one,
What will be key in helping you to overcome this challenge?
this is a cool card too. It's called Shock of the New. It has like sunflowers. So it's like a woman's face that has sunflowers and something musical on top of her head. It's like a piano and speakers. And then she has like a mandala that is
Oh yeah,
at
like on
her
her
like
throat.
chest, and then uh something like a star type like pendant thing coming out of the mandala up her throat. I'm sure that's probably like a throat chakra thing. Um yeah, it's I like it. Um no, this is it's a little bit shorter. That's nice. Shock of the new. What wild, unconventional voice is calling to you? Can you hear it? It is so different and so unusual, it might be heard, or it might be hard to decipher, like hearing an unfamiliar language for the first time. It might be hard to discern what great clarity now with I have a hard time reading. It might be hard to discern with great clarity now, but there is an affinity between you and this strangely beautiful newness seeking to manifest. This oracle says there is a stirring at the deepest level within you. Something new will break through, and the process of this birth may be a shock to you. The shock will transform into great joy and a sense of tremendous liberation, but you must bear the strangeness first. That strangeness might be something that rattles your beliefs about yourself and your world, daring you to become more of yourself, more open to where life is leading you, and more willing to be the unique sacred art being the unique sacred art being crafted by the hand of the universal creator. Nature never shies away from strange beauty. She allows for endless diversity, and her sacred works are often peculiar and stunning. You live within her field of creative grace as a specific as a specifically created work that also creates. You are being asked to surrender any fear you may have of being seen as exotic, unusual, eccentric, or bizarre. You're being asked to make peace with strange beauty and to let it happen through you in creative flow. Perhaps you need to allow your conventional ideas of beauty to become even more inspired and open. Perhaps you can allow your need for the world to behave according to your fixed ideas to fall away. You will receive so much more in its place. This oracle comes with a special message for you. There are rumblings and stirrings of the creative life force happening now, deep in the undercurrents of your being. If you are very attuned or sensitive, you may have consciously felt this already with excitement, discomfort, or both. If you have not yet sensed these inner stirrings, they are happening all the same. So be on the lookout for the shift of new birth, the shock of the new, the unconventional, the strangely beautiful, and the disturbing liberation of that which is foreign stepping into your life. This is life creating the stage upon which you will experience greater fulfillment. Don't be nervous if the rumble of change turns into a mighty roar that rocks boats, bursts forth as novel ideas and changes things in a way that is out of your control. This is life happening. Free fall into it. The oracle of the shock of the new comes to you saying, the old way is out, or the old way is on its way out. You are being invited, dragged, nurtured, and coerced into the new. That sounds fun. You can handle it. This oracle brings you guidance. You're about to encounter something new and different in your life. This is helpful. Don't reject it, no matter how small or insignificant or how powerful and life-changing it may seem to be. You're being asked to dispense with your reliance on the past and what have been your tools to navigate life. You have outgrown all your old methods. You will have to fly by the seat of your pants, so to speak, as you experiment with new ways to be. Life will show you the way. I'm pretty sure I got this too. So either I was accidentally pulling for myself or we have very similar
We're on
paths.
similar journeys. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I like that both of our final cards were very like, you're going on a journey. Who knows what's next? Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank
Uh,
you.
of course. I like it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up since we're
Yes.
blocking high times here. Yeah, so if you want to connect further with Kayla, you can go to Connected Pleasure Coaching on Instagram, connectedpleasurecoaching.com, and I'll have all the other links in the show notes for the retreat, the podcast, etc. If you'd like to be a guest on the show, I'll have the guest inquiry linked as well, and links for the tarot decks we talked about will always be in the show notes and on my website. And the one Kayla was pulling from, I'll grab as well, the Sacred Rebels Oracle. And thanks for joining me today on Everyday Tarot. Just as a reminder, the podcast comes out daily, Monday through Friday for all of 2025. You can email me, me@CamilleASaunders.com, with your thoughts, questions, and more. All right, see you soon. Bye bye.